Welcome back to the water cooler, everybody. You would think that in order for the left to have been able to so confidently claim that the 2020 election was one of the most secure elections in history, they would have a basic foundation to that claim. But in a shock to absolutely nobody, it's coming out that plenty of voter rolls in multiple states are compromised of dead people and illegal immigrants. Oh, and as if that isn't bad enough, states like Michigan have their Secretary of State fighting to keep these illegitimate voter rolls intact. Here's a quote from the Heritage Foundation. They write this: in mid-September 2020, the Public Interest Legal Foundation sent Benson, that's the Secretary of State in Michigan, a list of all of the deceased registrants who remained on the state's voter rolls less than 2 months before the presidential election. Of those nearly 26,000 Michigan residents, 23,663 had been dead for at least 5 years. 17,479 had been dead for at least a decade. And astonishingly, 3,956 had been dead for at least 2 decades, yet they were still listed as registered voters in the state. That shows just how inadequate Michigan's procedures are for safeguarding the accuracy of its voter list. So here's where the critics say, hey, it's just Michigan, it's one state. That's really rare. Of course, we know that's not true, so let's move on to North Carolina, shall we? Yet another example of invalid voter rolls, and state election officials are being called out for it. The Center for Renewing America recently uncovered new documents showing thousands, possibly even millions, of illegal citizens on voter rolls, and local Department of Motor Vehicle departments, the DMVs, all involved in this. The Center for Renewing America sent a letter to the North Carolina State Board of Elections, and this is what they said, quote, "It is an indisputable fact that non-citizens voted in the 2016 election in North Carolina. Some of these individuals were not only charged, but also convicted. Nevertheless, at least 7 convicted felons remained on your voter rolls as late as November 2021. Your own statement in response to the DOJ admits this when it points out that non-citizens were not removed from the voter rolls because federal investigators did not provide you enough information, even though the relevant criminal conviction should be all that you need. Duh. This fact alone undermines your claim that the systemic problems were solved years earlier. Federal investigators had to prompt your office at least twice as to the ongoing nature of specific individuals still residing illegally on your voter rolls. We still have no verifiable information that those identified by federal authorities for removal after a minimal investigation into a very small number of people, representing only a portion of the problem, have actually been removed. If any information contrary to the above claim is publicly available, please provide it. Furthermore, one of the root causes providing the opportunity for so many non-citizens to vote was only revealed to the public after the American Accountability Foundation submitted public records request that produced the report from the U.S. Attorney's investigation of the Eastern District of North Carolina. The U.S. Attorney's Office found the DMV was pre-populating forms that automatically registered non-citizens as citizens. If your office has previously publicly acknowledged and released the DOJ report, the 2017 NCSBE audit, and the NCSBE response letter to the DOJ together, please provide those details. Anyhow, joining me now is the Legislative Director at the Center for Renewing America, Paige Agostin. Paige, thanks for being here.
Thanks, David. Thanks for having me on.
Well, tell us more about exactly what's going on and where this all is at this point.
Yeah, so after the U.S. Attorney, and it was only the U.S. Attorney in the Eastern District of North Carolina, opened an investigation, they found hundreds of illegal immigrants or illegal aliens on the voter rolls, voted in the 2016 election, and then even after they were convicted, as you described, they remained on the voting rolls in 2020 and then as late as November 21. And even more recently, we had people in North Carolina look up those individual names on the voter rolls, and some of them still appear on the rolls. So this whole idea about there is nothing to see here, our elections are secure, that you hear from the left, well, when, as you pointed out, when legitimate cases of that not being the case are brought to light, they just deny it and shout louder.